We as a community value our leaders and see you as one of them. Who, besides yourself, do you see as a McKinney leader that has the power to improve and preserve McKinney for our future?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of leaders in McKinney. I think you have leaders in the school district with your school board that can have a positive impact, and you hope that they will. You hope that your city council will have a positive impact. You also have leaders that are in business. Sometimes you'll hear the term stakeholder. I don't know if you've ever heard that. Have you all ever heard the term stakeholder? Okay. Well, if you ever read something or you hear somebody talk about, let's go talk to the stakeholders of the community, what they're really talking about is, let's go out and find 5 or 10 people that are in business in McKinney who've been here maybe for a long time, or maybe they've invested a lot of money in their business and they've created some level of importance because of that. And you go and talk to them about, well, what is it that you like or don't like about what's happening, to get some ideas, because they're investing a lot of money in the city. So then that way they're leaders. Your parents, quite frankly, are leaders in the community in the sense that they decide who to elect. They get to pick who's serving on the city council. They get to pick who's serving on the school board, who's serving in Austin. So there's that level of leadership. So I think that's the way you have to look at it. I think you guys can look around your school and you can kind of tell what kids are in your class that have leadership qualities. Maybe somebody that is one of you guys are willing to stand up in class and take the lead in answering a question or asking a question. That's leadership, because you might be asking a question that 10 other kids are afraid to ask. Or maybe there's something that you would like to see different in your school, and you take initiative to at least talk to your teachers about that. So you can have leadership at a lot of different levels. And that's really what I think what's great about McKinney. We have a lot of people that want to be involved. We have 20 volunteer boards in McKinney. We have everything from, we have an animal services board, we have a parks board, we have a community development board, we have an arts commission board that talks about arts projects, we have a planning board, we have, we involve a lot of people in helping us make decisions. And then when you look at all the different things like all the activities out there, things like Relay for Life, things like the races we have, Dickens of Christmas, most of that is ran by volunteers, and that's all types of leadership as well.
Derek, this. Go ahead, sweetie.
We understand that McKinney did not win the HEB challenge. What will you do for the coming year to ensure our success, or at least growth with this?
I'm glad you brought that up. I was not really happy that we didn't win that. We got third place.
I know.
We got third place. I thought for sure we'd win. I think, actually, because it's the first year we've done it, I think, I'm not happy about third place, but it's better than not getting any place, right? So to improve on that, there needs to be a little bit more education about what it is. And I know when I went to, you can get me on my soapbox here, when I went into the website to do what I needed to do, there was a letter I needed to sign and some other things I could do to get us points. It was very hard to maneuver through that. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that that's necessarily their fault, but I think they're going to have to realize that some people maybe like myself are maybe more technology challenged than others. And what you don't want to do is have and since you guys are doing a web page, something to think about, you don't want to make it difficult to where the people that you're interested in attracting ultimately don't go to it because they're too frustrated. And I know, like, my wife kept saying, she kept trying to enter things that she was doing for exercise, and she was so frustrated because every time she did, she'd have to go through it like 10 times before she could get it to work. So again, it sounds like I'm sour grapes, but the reality is, I think there needs to be an education piece on how to use that website. We need to get out and get the businesses more involved. I know the school did a great job with their teams. The city had teams. We were talking to local businesses. It started with, we're working with Cooper. I think if we can get out to some of the other health clubs in the area, because it's all about points and activities, so it's just more involvement. But there's some things that we can do that I think there's no reason why we shouldn't win that. And we got a great active community, so we'll just rise to the challenge next year. So, yes. Oh, I took the paper. I have been in McKinney since 1989, so that's a long time.
What changes have you noticed that have positively impacted your community?
Since 1989? Wow. Well, when I moved to McKinney in 1989, there was only 19,000 people living here. And the only restaurant that I knew of that you really could go eat at was a restaurant where they spelled country with a K, which I never understood. So, you know what I'm talking about?
McDonald's.
No? Yeah, I'm not kidding about that. But no, seriously, McDonald's, when I ran for city council the first time, this is a true story, and I lived here in Stonebridge, and when I moved to Stonebridge in 1989, okay, you know how many people live in Stonebridge today? About 40,000. You know how many were living here when I moved here?
18%.
460. Not 460 houses, 460 people. I mean, the roads weren't, this school wasn't here, obviously. There were a lot of roads that weren't here. McDonald's wasn't here. Albertsons wasn't here. We didn't have a movie theater. You went to Plano to watch a movie. And it was kind of funny because there was this little store where, you know where Albertsons and McDonald's were, that is?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was this little store there called Norby's. And and this is kind of good and bad about growing, because I remember when Albertsons came in and they were going to tear down Norby's, and everybody who had lived here were so upset that Norby's was being torn down. They can't tear down Norby's. I mean, it was the only place we could go, you know, short of going to groceries. But when I first ran for city council, one of the things that I was asked at the time was, if you're elected to city council, will you let them build a McDonald's in Stonebridge? Because there were a lot of people that didn't want fast food in Stonebridge Ranch. They just didn't want it. Yeah, look at that. Who would have thought?
Did they even know what fast food was?
Oh yeah, but the reality is, it wasn't. You know, as I told them, you know, it's not about whether you're going to have McDonald's or Burger King or anything like that. It's what it looked like, and you know, we have one of the nicest looking McDonald's around, Stone. So a lot of that's different. The city was you know, there wasn't a lot of development on the west side. You know, if you were driving down where Lake Forest and El Dorado is, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. But once you got to Lake Forest and El Dorado was a gravel road, and there was cornfields on both sides, so there's nothing there. Yeah, it was country.
Okay, that's hard.
And and people just kept moving in and moving in and moving in. But you know, so it was a small town, and there was a lot of good things about that. Stonebridge was just starting. It had only been, the development had only been open a couple of years. They used to have an equestrian center here where people would go horseback riding. And as they grew, it went away. So, you know, a lot of changes like that. A lot less people.
What changes have you witnessed that have negatively impacted our community?
Negatively impacted? You know, that's a hard one, because really haven't seen a lot of negatives. I mean, I think, I think it's generally how you look at things as a person, because some people would say all these people moving here is a negative impact of growth. Going from 19,000 to 136,000 people, right? Some people might think that's a negative, but then I look at it and thought, well, who am I to say who the last person is that should get to move to McKinney? I moved here. So that's hard for me to call that a negative. I think it can be a negative if you don't manage your growth the right way. If you suddenly say, well, we don't care, about the types of houses we have, or we don't care if, you put a storage facility next to a residential area, and you just, some places that don't have zoning, that's what it's called, but, where you have businesses that are not necessarily compatible next to each other, that could be a negative. So you have to grow the right way, or it could be a negative. Having gone through 2 or 3 droughts in the last several years has been a negative because of the growth. And then probably the only other negatives I've really seen is because of what we went through with the economy over the last few years, and we had development start and then stop, and dealing with that. Because you get in that mode of as you grow and more people move in here, you have to bring businesses in to raise money to support the people who live here. And so when something starts and stops, that's not good. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kyle, go ahead.
You can ask a question.
Could you tell us about the program Live Healthy Texas and what role you serve in this?
Live Healthy North Texas?
Live Healthy Texas.
Of North Texas.
Yeah, that was a program that started, we got involved in a few years ago, and it's kind of like the health initiative I was talking about before, but it's a program where it's basically a contest that ran from the 1st of January to, I believe, the end of March or the end of April, where you could put a team together and you could accumulate points based on how much exercise you did. Sometimes it's based on, some people could do it based on how much weight they lost. But they had different categories, and they had like a corporate winner, meaning a business division, then they had a city division, so they have different divisions, and my involvement in that was mainly getting more and more teams in the city of McKinney involved, and actually 2 years ago we won the division for municipalities as the healthiest municipality from a point standpoint. And one of the reasons we did that is because, when it really comes right down to it, a lot of it's all about money, and the city has to pay for health insurance for all the employees, and we have to pay their medical bills because we cover their insurance, and it was getting very, very expensive, so we started looking at that and started thinking in terms of, well, how do we lower the cost to the city for medical bills? And one way was to get people to be healthier, because we looked at a lot of the types of medical care they were needing, and a lot of it was things like high blood pressure medication, stuff that you can, with healthier habits, you can prevent. So that's kind of what started it, and help control that cost.